Good morning, artists. This is Beth Cooper. It is week 2 of our self-quarantining or our social distancing or whatever you'd like to call it. And week 2, we're going to be working on camping. I hope you enjoyed the beach. That one was my first inclination, but then also I thought about when I was a kid, my family used to love to go tent camping in the state parks. And now I have brothers that also live out in the Pacific Northwest, and they enjoy going camping out there. So the way that we began last week, and I'd like to begin again because those people may not have done last week's, they might be new to it. Remember that you need some materials. You need a pencil. You're going to need a sharpener. Make sure that your pencil is nice and sharp before you begin. When we finish drawing everything, you're going to need an ink pen and you're going to need an eraser. So please make sure you have all of those available to you right away, and so that you don't have to stop the video and go look for those. Now I've divided my page into the 4 days of the week that we're going to be drawing the simple objects that are going to go into our final piece. So each day I'm going to be filling in one of these sections, and then I have them facing the page that we're going to do our final drawing on, so that we can see all of those objects and refer back to them, so that we can, if we need to, we can look back and see how they were done. Now remember, last week we started with the idea that we are looking at and breaking down our objects into simple shapes. Usually they are organic shapes or they're geometric shapes. Last week I tried to group them according to shapes. Like for instance, Monday we started with things that looked like they were circular. This week I'm going to actually do a little bit different. This week I'm going to do, Monday is going to be the background, Tuesday is objects that we need around camp, Wednesday is going to be critters, and then Thursday is going to be a little bit more difficult objects that we need to spend a little more time on. And I'm not going to do as many per day. I think I learned my lesson last time. It's kind of hard to fit those all into one drawing. So first we're going to do our simple shapes using pencil, drawing lightly until we get it just the way we want to. Then when we switch over to our pen, we're going to draw in their details and the final lines that we want for our drawings. And they might be a little bit different from the original shapes that we do. We might change it up a little bit. Then, because we're not adding color or value together in these lessons, I changed those around. I swapped 3 is going to be clean up, and that's where we're going to go back and use our eraser and clean up those pencil lines, the guidelines that we don't need anymore. So let's begin. I'm going to start on Monday with the background. We're going to start with mountains and some foothills and trees in the background in the distance. These are very easy. So mountains really sort of look like a heart monitor, if you will, and we're not going to add too much detail to them at all because they are in the distance. We don't have to have a lot of detail to them. So we are going to draw some peaks like this, back and forth. Now some of them are going to go in front, so we can go back in here and we can draw some lines that go down like this to make them look like some of them are in front and some of them are behind. All right. And then next we're going to draw some foothills that might go in front of them. The foothills are just going to be a nice curvy wavy line, and make sure that you vary your wave a little bit so it looks more natural. And then we're going to put some a tree line in front of that, but again, not a whole lot of detail. And the tree line, again, sort of looks like a heart monitor line. Hopefully your heart never looks like this. If so, you probably need to go see a doctor. So you're just going to vary short lines, short zigzag lines, and tall ones like this. So we've got the mountains in the back, then we've got the foothills, and then we've got the tree line in the distance. And if you want to, on the very tallest peaks, we can add some snow. And that's really all there is to it. We're going to switch over to to pen, and instead of doing these exact straight lines, I'm going to add a little bit of cragginess to the mountains, because they shouldn't be straight really. Like this. You can make them curvy, you can add a few zigzags to it, make it look like they've got some outcroppings and some hard edges to them, like that. And then go back and do your snow peaks. Some of my trees got in the way of my foothills. That's okay. I don't want to go over them. The trees are going to be closer to us than the foothills. That's called our overlapping. That was one of our techniques that we learned about last week. And it's going to look like that. And really, that's the entire background that we're going to use for this camping scene that we're going to do. Now, the next thing that I want to do is practice doing trees. A pine tree is actually a very simple drawing to do, and it starts with a basic shape, just like we've done with our mountains and the trees in the background. We're going to do a tree in the foreground, and we're going to do one, and then we're going to add some more to it. So we're going to start with a long, skinny triangle. Draw this lightly because this is just a guideline, like this. And then divide this triangle horizontally with about 4 lines like that, evenly spaced down along the tree. Now, in order to make the pine boughs, we're going to draw from the point at the top to the outside edges of those lines that we drew like this. And then we're going to connect those with zigzag lines, doing like this. Okay, easy enough. Do the same thing underneath, some more zigzag lines like that. Start where these two intersect. Go out to the edge of the line that you drew underneath, connect them like this, and do the same thing for each layer of your tree, like that. And then down at the bottom, you can add 2 lines to make your trunk. Now, there are usually a lot of trees in the forest. So instead of just doing separate ones, we are going to use our overlapping technique to make them look like they're a forest. So we're going to make some more tall, skinny triangles, but they're going to overlap behind. So for instance, I'm going to have another tree here. I'm going to draw it very lightly. And it's not going to go all the way down to the bottom of this tree. Remember, the trees that are closer to us are going to look bigger and lower on the page. The ones that are further away are going to be higher on the page. I'm going to draw it all the way down. Oh no, let's do like here. And they're going to be smaller. Okay? So the same technique that we did with this first one, we're going to do with these other ones. We're going to draw some horizontal lines. Since they're further back, you don't have to have as many. So I'm only going to do 2 intersecting this triangle, and make sure that they go beyond the triangle. And then we're going to start at the top. We're going to draw a diagonal line down to the edge, and we're going to do our zigzag line all the way over to the other side. Do that for every layer of your tree, but see where it hits the one in front, where it touches that object in front, you don't have to draw that anymore because we can't see that part of the tree. It is behind. And then draw 2 lines to make the trunk. Same thing with the one on the other side. Start from the point, go out to the outside line points on the horizontal lines that we drew. Make zigzag lines that connect those. And again, if it goes behind the tree in front, you don't have to draw that part. We're not going to see that part, and that makes what makes it look like a forest. Then we're going to take our ink pen, and we're going to start with the tree in front, because there are a lot of guidelines in here that we don't need anymore, and we're going to ink in the lines that we do want to keep. So start from the top, draw in those lines that you do want to keep. And if you need to make slight changes, this would be a really good time to do that. Instead of zigzag lines, you could also do more curvy lines. That way they wouldn't look so pointy. That would be okay. This one I need to change up a little bit. And then we have all of those guidelines that we want to go back and erase. I think that looks fairly foresty. What do you think? Then take your eraser, very lightly, gently, go back over and erase your guidelines that you've created so that all you have left are your ink lines. Ugh, that one didn't work so well. Make sure it's dry. You might even want to just use a small eraser. If you have a good pencil, try that one, because we don't want to mess up our inking. That one obviously wasn't dry. See, as artists, it's always trial and error. We're always learning. That's it for Monday. I hope you enjoyed that one. I'll see you back here for Tuesday.